Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, March 13th, 2016. The storyline du jour is definitely Victor's arrest and everything that has come as a result of Victor's arrest. The surprising twist within this is the fact that Victor's family has begun to turn on him. What I think we are moving toward in sort of a twist upon a twist is Victor's family being the one to turn against him and his enemies maybe being the ones who come out to support him and end up lifting him back up and bringing him or assisting him in rising back up to the top. I know that sounds a little shocking and maybe a little bit out of left field, but I kind of feel like Y&R is playing on our expectations here and getting ready to give us something we wouldn't expect as a surprise, because I think the two people who quite possibly are going to play a major role in redeeming Victor will be Adam and Jack. Look, if Jack is not going to be warring with Victor, and Jack has made it very clear that he doesn't want to be warring with Victor, then who's he going to be warring with? Billy. And what's going to be one of the best ways to get back at Billy? By helping Victor. I think Jack is going to be feeling very betrayed in the coming weeks. He finds out about Phyllis and Billy working behind his back to purchase this internet security project, and that comes as a full realization to him that things are going on that he has no say in whatsoever, never mind the fact that his wife and brother, two people who are supposed to be closest to him, are the ones that are facilitating it. Jack is not happy about that. He's not happy about getting wrapped up with the Centauris, and he's not happy about being forced into another entanglement with Victor. I understand completely. Jack doesn't need to say a single thing. I get it 100%. If anyone in this town has a right to a legitimate opinion about war with Victor Newman and the consequences of it, it's Jack. He's lived it firsthand. And he had this great line this week where he says, the only way to beat Victor Newman is to stay the hell out of the game. And it's true. It's the road that's less entertaining for viewers, of course. But Jack theoretically is right. He's right to stay out of it. And meanwhile, Phyllis and Billy can't stop themselves. It's become all consuming. Both Phyllis and Billy have decided that revenge against Victor is frankly more important than the relationship with their significant other. Whether it's overt in the way they're putting it out there or not, they've clearly both made their choice separately and together. Phyllis dropped the bomb to Jack this week about the fact that she went so far as to have Adam kidnapped to facilitate this plan of hers. And I'm sure that Jack, his mind is just levels of being blown right now. And I also think that little piece of information is going to feed into Victor's enemies possibly being the ones who end up helping him. I mean, again, whether they know it or not, I don't know, but I think that it's legitimate, because if Phyllis reveals to Jack that she is the one who had Adam kidnapped, which she did, and then the previews for Monday's show, she's asking Jack, "You're not going to tell Adam that I did that, are you?" Even though I think Adam possibly already knows, or he might have already put two and two together on it. If Jack does end up going to Adam, it's gonna be enough to cause a shakeup with Adam. I mean, we all are kind of waiting to find out what he's gonna do and ultimately what's gonna be the thing that makes him stick around in Genoa City, and it might very well be it. And even if Victor's enemies aren't the ones who explicitly help him out of this jam, their forces might end up inadvertently helping him. I mean, we just don't know. The whole thing is so very messy. It is having repercussions in everyone's relationship, no matter what whether that relationship is romantic or it's familial, and the cracks between Jack and Phyllis specifically are deepening. They're just, it's getting more, it's clear that it's more and more difficult for them to connect and communicate and ultimately stay together. Phyllis had this outrageous moment this week where she told Jack, she's practically foaming at the mouth as she says to him, "Look, if you can't help me, then at least stay the hell out of my way." Which is really drawing the lines. She's making it clear where she stands on this topic, and I feel bad for Jack because he's wanting to tell Phyllis, I want to understand you, even if I can't join you. And meanwhile, he's busy in kind of going back and forth between being mad at Billy and trying to advise Billy, saying, you know what? Go ahead. If you want to have your war with Victor, do it. But be prepared to lose what matters the most to you. Summer is the new Victoria, right? 100%. I mean, Summer is the only one who is standing by Victor in the family, and it actually made me feel a little bit nauseous this week, the way Victor is pumping Summer up, telling her, you stood by me and I'll never forget it. Yeah, sure. How many times has Victoria stood by Victor over the years, and then the second she does anything that he doesn't like, he's ready to abandon her, ready to cut off the relationship entirely? Victor's love is always contingent on you doing what Victor says and wants and following orders. So the way he is manipulating Summer is a little bit vomitous. And the way she's falling for it is the same. Summer breaks down and tells Victor everything about Natalie's plan and does it right in front of Victoria, by the way. So this is the week that Victoria finds out that Billy was working to get involved with Natalie's plan behind Victoria's back. And she did honestly take it a little bit differently than I thought she was going to. Of course, she runs to Billy, she confronts him, but I was surprised that Victoria was more upset about, it seemed to me anyway, that she was more upset about the Phyllis part than about the general idea of what he was doing. Did you guys get that vibe too? I think Victoria is starting to get a little jealous of Phyllis and that Billy's working with Phyllis. And I was surprised, I guess, if she can't be mad about anything having to do with Victor, being mad about the Phyllis part of it is the next best thing. I honestly didn't think that she was going to break up with him right away, but she did. She says the engagement's off. We're not getting married. It was very fast. I mean, when Billy and Victoria got engaged, 2 weeks ago? I thought, well, maybe they'll actually make it to the altar. Maybe they won't, but I was not anticipating that the whole engagement would be called off in 2 weeks, but it certainly seems to be. And here's the other thing. As usual, Phyllis finds out about it and she runs to Victoria and tries to sweep up after Billy and his mess. It's getting a little bit annoying. I do appreciate that Phyllis wants to support Billy, but the meddling part of it seems a little suspect to me. Billy's a big boy. Billy made all of the decisions that he made. So why do you need to get up in his marriage and try to explain things to Victoria? It didn't help. I'll give Phyllis points for telling Victoria that, look, the whole time he was doing it, he was at least very torn about it, but it doesn't really change the facts, and you don't see Billy going to Jack and begging for forgiveness and understanding on Phyllis's behalf. It's very one-sided, and I think it's coming off as more. I think that Y&R is definitely headed in a Billy and Phyllis affair direction, and I don't want to see it. I mean, we've talked about it for a while now, because I think it was clear that it was coming down the pike, at least for the past couple of months, and especially right around the recast. But, you know me, I'm open to couples. I like shaking things up and seeing different couples, but there's something about Phyllis and Billy that I don't like. I don't like it. I like Phyllis and Jack. They make sense. I don't really want to see a war erupt between Jack and Billy, and I think that's what we're going to get, and that, I think, is going to be the catalyst for Jack potentially helping Victor to get back at Billy and or Phyllis. I don't know who he's going to be more upset with, but I don't want to see it. I'm afraid. I mean, I know it's coming, but I'm afraid. I like Jack and Phyllis together. I like their dynamic. I would like to see Billy and Victoria work it out. They always have worked it out in the past, and I'd like to see them do it again. I think that really, if you dig down into Billy and his motivation for going ahead with getting involved with Passkey and keeping it from Victoria, I really believe that this whole time he was keeping that secret, that Billy believed that he would be able to get back with Victoria eventually. I think there was a part of Billy, even as he was doing the wrong thing, that somehow believed that he was going to be able to get Victoria to forgive him, that he'd be able to explain it or charm his way back into her good graces, because that's always how it goes. And he wasn't counting on the fact that she was going to put her foot down. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's right. Maybe Victoria will end up forgiving him. I mean, he's trying to be as charming as possible to make that happen. It absolutely broke my heart when he showed up in her office with his big St. Patrick's Day hat dog, the big stuffed dog with the St. Patrick's Day hat and a big button that says "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" and a crown for her. It was very cute, and it also pulled back from their history because they had this St. Patrick's Day thing, like little romantic thing where they met in the airport and had St. Patrick's Day, and it was cute, and I liked that Y&R pulled that back into the current story. It was very sweet, and it really did break my heart when she pretty much shoved that big dog back in his arms and said, "Get out of here with it." Victoria pretty much sends Billy to the doghouse. How great was Judge Moxley this week? I love this woman. Victor thinks he's just going to use that blackmail card with her into infinity and hang this affair over her head in perpetuity to force her to do whatever it is that he needs her to do. And she says, "No, I'm not going to let that happen." She calls a press conference and comes completely clean about their affair. That is how you defuse a blackmail bomb, people. Take a page from the book of Moxley. She did it right. Because people in this town are gonna blackmail you, and the only way you can get out from under it is to expose the truth yourself. I had an enormous amount of respect for her in that moment. If you guys don't have this big secret of mine that you're keeping, then you can't force me to do anything. That includes anything having to do with Victor. That includes anything having to do with Noah. So I'm glad that that card kind of came out of play. It's one by one us seeing that the Newmans don't really have anywhere to turn. We talked about it last week and the week before. Things always seem to work out when your name is Newman. Well, maybe not so much anymore. I think that's the interesting part of this story. Just as a side note, I completely was expecting Judge Moxley to say, oh, and by the way, I had a love child with Victor and her name is Natalie. I'm still waiting for that secret to come out. I swear one of these days there's going to be a scene where Natalie and Judge Moxley bump into each other and it's, oh, hey, Mom, and it's going to be very, very casual. And the dots will be connected. I cannot get that out of my mind. I believe with all my heart, despite the Weinar giving me no reason to. I just believe that Natalie is Judge Moxley and Victor's kid. And who knows, maybe Natalie is going to play some kind of important role in Victor and getting him out of prison. The results from last week's poll, let's dig into that because I had a poll up at yrchat.com that asked, do you want to see Victor go to prison? And rather than just doing it as a quick yes or no answer, I broke it out into 4 separate answers to kind of get a gauge on where you guys are with this. So, do you want to see Victor go to prison? The options were yes and throw away the key. Yes, but only temporarily, and then no, I don't want to see Victor go to prison because I don't want to watch it, and then the final answer was no because he doesn't deserve it. Well, let me tell you, not a single person said, I don't want to see Victor go to prison because he doesn't deserve to go to prison. So the consensus among all of us is pretty much, yeah, he deserves it. But the majority of voters said, yes, I do want to see him go to prison, but only temporarily. So I think that gives me a good temperature on how you guys are feeling about it now. And I'm kind of starting to come around to it a little bit more. I don't know, I personally, it's like, I hate seeing Victor suffer, but at the same time, it's definitely creating some interesting drama here. I'll tell you, I was extremely shocked by Michael's decision this week. Wow, because on Monday, I want to say it was, Michael flat out turned Phyllis down and said, I don't think it's right for me to take Victor's case just to throw it and send him to prison. I love you, but you're asking too much of me. And then as the week evolved, he completely changed his mind. I think it was probably in large part because of Lauren. I mean, even Lauren was telling Michael, I think you should do it, in so many words. What would you do if what Victor did to Phyllis, Victor had done to me? And that seemed to completely transform Michael's opinion on it, which I'm surprised and I think is wrong personally. Victor didn't do it to Lauren. He did it to Phyllis, and you should stay out of it. It's striking to me that Michael would end up choosing to throw away his entire career and his entire code of ethics, which I think has been a long road for Michael to develop. We've talked about it quite a bit actually recently in regard to like my Genoa City soap videos, digging in a little bit more to Michael's character. He started out in such a very dark place, and through the years, he worked his way through sweat and tears to become someone who was on the side of good and on the side of justice. And I'm surprised that it turned so quickly for him this week. I mean, he said something to the effect of that he believes that taking Victor's case and throwing it is the right thing to do. I mean, he literally said it's the right thing to do. How is that the right thing to do? It's shocking to me. And I will also tell you, oh my gosh, watching that scene actually there were 2 scenes. First, where Michael goes to Victor and has to convince Victor to give him the job, and then second goes to see Victor in the hospital, and Victor asks him, how are you going to get me out of this? Fine, you're hired. What's going to be your strategy? And Michael feeds Victor a whole big bucket full of manure, really, in such a convincing way. Watching Michael tell Victor and feed into Victor's ego about how he is the epitome of a good father figure, and everything he's done is for his family, and without you, Victor, your family would be destitute, and I'm going to present that case to the jury, and of course they're going to come to your side. They're going to realize what everybody should realize about you, Victor. You're amazing and wonderful, and everything you do is right, always. I mean, watching Michael feed into Victor's ego in such a convincing way, it was just, wow, it was powerful. But I'm left with this feeling of not understanding what's really in this for Michael. Because it's not justice. You can pretend that you're team justice here, but that's not really what justice is. I mean, I think there's a philosophical karmic justice, but justice in terms of the law is within a strict set of guidelines and rules, and you're bending it now. So don't do what you're gonna do, Michael, but don't pretend it's justice. But I absolutely love that this is forcing Michael into the spotlight, forcing him to have a point of view. It doesn't even bother me that it's forcing him to do something wrong, even though I don't understand it. But I really just like that we're going here. But the thing is, I wonder if Victor could end up getting out on a technicality if anyone finds out that his lawyer threw the case. And the other part of it that I think could be interesting is maybe Victor knows that Michael's trying to throw him under the bus. I mean, for crying out loud, Michael is Phyllis's best friend. You think Victor doesn't know that? And in the jail, after Victor fired his first attorney and Michael comes in to plead his case for getting the job, there was just this little twinkle in Victor's eye that I thought to myself, I think he might know what's going on. Maybe Victor wants to take on Michael as the lawyer, let Michael try to screw him over, and then file or get off on a technicality because he was underrepresented or misrepresented. Or, of course, here's another wild card idea. Maybe Michael could accidentally win it. He is just that good. And then there is the small matter of control over Newman Enterprises. That is the battle that is about to erupt and that I'm definitely going to enjoy watching. Victor was out on jail only briefly, or out on bail, excuse me, briefly this week. He ended up getting thrown back in because he had a big, crazy fight with Jack and Phyllis. But at the very beginning of the week, he's out on bail and goes to the office and finds Victoria sitting in his chair. It was a great moment where he just tells her, get out of the chair. She's now a betrayer. Anything that Victoria did before doesn't matter. Everything is post her handing over that evidence, and he's not going to forgive her, and in his mind that relationship was ruined. By the way, loved the scene in the hospital where she said to him, you know, somehow surely you and I can get past this. I found a way to forgive you for having me arrested on my wedding day. Yeah. Very good point. But for now, Nikki and Victoria are really leading the charge to rip this company away from Victor. They've called a meeting of the board of directors to have Victor de-seated as the CEO and to seat Victoria as at least an interim CEO. And it's really torn the family. It's in effect had claws that have gotten into everyone's lives here, this particular storyline. I really like Nick's position on all of this. He, of course, has a board seat, and Nikki and Victoria want Nick to vote against Victor, and Nick really doesn't want to get involved. Nick is Switzerland in all of this. He wants to remain neutral, and I can't blame him. He has things going on at home with Sage, and he just doesn't need this. And I thought that Nick also had a really good point as he was presenting his side of the argument. You know, if family is so important to Victor, then let's not fight for Newman Enterprises. Let's just let him have Newman Enterprises, and then we'll just abandon him and let him see what it feels like to be left alone at the top. I thought, well, that's a really smart, strange coming from Nick, but it's just such a smart idea. There's no reason to both abandon Victor emotionally and try to take his company away from him. You really could do either or. It shows to me that Nikki and Victoria also have some maybe ulterior motives there. I think that Victoria is probably primarily the one with the ulterior motive. I think Victoria wants the company. Victoria wants her birthright, and Nikki wants what's best for her daughter and her family, and so that's why she's supporting so hard, because it really could, everything that they want to accomplish could definitely be accomplished another way, and instead they're dragging everybody into this entire mess. Abby has to go to this board meeting and vote. She doesn't really want to betray her father. Adam's perfectly happy to betray Victor. He's like happily voting a resounding yes to de-seating or dethroning Victor, and Summer, of course, is being the dutiful new, I don't know, what do you call it when, I don't know, she's like the little, errand runner or something for Victor now. She has his proxy and is voting on Victor's behalf, and there's this moment that I think is probably one of the most compelling moments of the week, where Victor is giving Summer his voting proxy, and they're sort of having this conversation at the jail, and in mid-conversation, Victor starts to kind of blip out. He is complaining of a massive headache, but he starts to not be connected to reality for just a brief moment, and it's almost like he doesn't know where he is, like he doesn't know what's happening. We do know that Victor has had epileptic seizures in the past. I was wondering, is that what's going on here? Or is that man faking it? That is this week's poll question at yrchat.com. Is Victor faking it? You tell me what you think, because on the one hand, I feel like these spells, we'll call it, are coming on with real convenient timing. I mean, really? Right? Just so that Summer gets to witness it and then run off to the board meeting. It seems a little manipulative to me, but then on the other hand, I think, oh, but those tears that are coming out of his eyes, they're so big, and he seemed so helpless in that moment. So I am left with that as such a huge question mark in my mind. And it's not just a matter of what do we think of Victor, is he gonna have some kind of health crisis, real or faked, that's gonna somehow influence the jury or influence the outcome of his trial? That's why I think it's an important question. Is Victor faking it, or does he have some kind of real medical emergency going on? I'm really dying to know how everybody else is reading that situation this week. It didn't stop the vote. The board meeting went on without him. They removed him with a generous majority. Victoria becomes the new queen of Newman Enterprises. She takes her throne, and they all make a trip to the hospital to I guess, sort of rub it in. And I already talked about the great moment between Victor and Victoria, because she's just now taken his place and he's not happy about it. But I really want to zero in on the really quite sad moment between Nikki and Victor, because Nikki, above everyone else, is really not believing Victor. I mean, you could tell that when Summer came back and told everyone about the spell that he had, Nikki was the first one to say, he's faking it. So Nikki is taking a very hard line with Victor. You can almost see it in his eyes looking at her like, et tu, Nikki. Everyone else in the world has abandoned me but you. And it is kind of taking on this Julius Caesar sort of vibe here. But I was so sad to see this heartbreaking moment between Nikki and Victor, where he's obviously feeling betrayed by her, and she just looks at him and says, if you hear nothing else that I say, hear this. I do love you. I love you. You know, it's not about anything that's happened. It's about how I feel. And I think I think really the larger thing that Nikki is saying here when she says, I do love you, hear this, is I'm not doing this to you. I'm trying to do this for you. Which, it's actually kind of Victor getting a taste of his own medicine. Nikki is trying to dethrone Victor and bring him down as a way to protect her family. I mean, and it's in such a Victor-esque move, and we've seen that. Nikki has learned many things from Victor over the years. She's doing this to protect her family, which is something that Victor should know better than anyone. It's become such an interesting twist. I think YNR is doing a very good job with this. I loved that moment at the very end of Friday's show where Victor gets out of the hospital. He doesn't even seem sick. That's the thing. He doesn't seem sick. It always seems like these little spells are coming on with convenient timing. But he gets out of the hospital, and this woman comes in with this wheelchair, and because it's hospital policy, everybody knows it's hospital policy, you gotta leave the hospital in a wheelchair. So it's Victor, the wheelchair, and the nurse, and then the cop. And Victor just like breezes past, he just gets up and like walks right past the wheelchair, walks right by the cops, and is like, I ain't getting in no wheelchair. I mean, it's like hospital policy. This is Victor Newman policy. I walk out of here. It was hilarious. I mean, why would the cop, and the cop just took it. That was the best part about the whole thing. The cop was just like, oh, he's Victor Newman. I'm just gonna let him do what he's gonna do. Even in prison, Victor is calling the shots. Victor has one card and only one card left. I was happy for a brief flickering moment to think of Adam and Chelsea running off to New York City and buying this fabulous new, I don't know, condo or whatever, and Chelsea getting a loft space and for her business, and Adam getting this new job, and Connor getting to play around in the garden of their apartment, and it was adorable. There was just a moment of, yeah, Adam and Chelsea, if they got away from all of this mess, could be very happy together. But of course, we know it's not going to happen. We know it's not going to last. Victor's one remaining card is Adam. He's exhausted every other avenue. And Victor does try to make a phone call to Adam this week, which Chelsea intercepts. I can't say I blame her. Honestly, I think she knows that her husband has this weakness, and it's Victor. It's his father, and it's the fact that he's just like him, really, and that they have the same wants, they have the same desires, and she knows that her husband wants that company. In fact, Chelsea realizes that so much that she talks to Michael and offers to testify on Victor's behalf. I'll say whatever you need me to say to help get Victor out of this mess so that he can get out of jail, keep being Victor, keep running his company, and leave my husband out of it. She knows damn well that running Newman Enterprises, being the head of Newman Enterprises, is way too big of a carrot to be dangled in front of Adam Newman. And Victor knows it too. There's just no way that Adam is going to be able to turn down the crown. He does just barely. I mean, Adam comes to visit Victor in the hospital and he just says, I want you to run my company. And Adam says, no, no, and walks out and is ready to walk out the door. Adam says, I'm moving. And Victor goes, you know, that sounds really great, except I know you're not going to do it. And Adam walks away. And he's right. That's the thing. He's right. I think that if, you know, the dangling carrot of Newman Enterprises is one thing. But I also just think that if Adam can piece together what happened with Phyllis, that she's the one that had him kidnapped and that all that mess is going on behind the scenes, I think that might potentially give Adam the personal reason that he's looking for to fight. So we had kind of talked about this and predicted it over the past couple of weeks. What we're going to see, and what I think is wonderful and fabulous and right where it should be, is Adam and Victoria fighting over the crown. Sage is being way too overbearing. It's like she's trying so hard to hold on to this glimmer of hope so tight that it's painful to watch. She wants Sean's baby so bad. She's practically drooling. There was this really weird jelly donut incident at the coffee house that made me cringe. Sean's talking about how she's having a craving for a jelly donut, and it was so innocent and pregnant lady, and I think it was Sean's way of just trying to be friendly when she doesn't know what to say to these people. And Sage starts saying, well, yeah, you can have those jelly donuts, but you also really gotta eat right. And Sean just puts her right in her place and says, I'm eating right. I'm doing everything right. You don't have to worry. I just wanted a donut, lady. I mean, it would be enough to turn me off of Sage. It's so clear that Sage is obsessing. I mean, she's going over to Chelsea's house and picking up some baby clothes already? Really? Have you seen a contract regarding this adoption? Have you even seen an attorney? It's getting incredibly ahead of yourself, and it's painful to watch. I did appreciate and am appreciating the little friendship between Chelsea and Sage. I thought it was a nice conversation when they were going over the baby clothes, especially since Chelsea has been in a position of adopting out a child. Chelsea is Johnny's biological mother, and she chose to adopt the baby to Victoria and Billy, and I thought it was nice that Chelsea was able to offer that perspective to Sage and to try to reel her in a little bit. On a side note, I wouldn't want Sage coming over to my house. Wouldn't want her anywhere near my Adam. But maybe Chelsea's just trying to be extra empathetic now that she knows that, I mean, I don't know if she knows that Sage lost a child with her husband. I think that would make me maybe not want her around. Then again, Sage is trying pretty hard, it's clear, to hang on to Nick these days. She wants Nick, she wants his baby. It's obvious what Sage wants. Chelsea, oh my gosh, had to literally peel Sharon off of Nick at the coffee house. Could you believe it? Nick and Sharon are getting all close, having a cozy conversation, and they're like holding hands, touching hands. It wasn't a hand hold, but it was an acknowledgement of their friendship and their relationship, and they had a little intimate hand touchy moment that Chelsea and Sage walked in on, and I loved, oh my gosh, Chelsea grabbed Sharon by her arm and dragged her out of there so that Sage and Nick could have the talk that Chelsea knew was coming, and it erupted into this wonderful argument in the other part of the coffee house between Chelsea and Sharon, and Sharon's like, I'm Nick's ex-wife. I have 2 kids with him. I think that entitles me to have an opinion on his life. And Chelsea's like, well, I'm Sage's friend. And Dylan's like, why don't we all stay out of this? Oh, it was a really fun scene. But Nick and Sage, oh, this is gonna break them, no doubt about it. Nick, he's dealing with a lot right now, and I think he's trying to do the right thing, and Sage just has this one-track baby mind. Sage accused him of, like, not wanting to participate in everything with Sean, and he goes, my father's in jail right now, and they're trying to dethrone him. He's been in and out of the hospital. Can you cut me a little bit of slack? And she just doesn't want to seem to do it. It ends up, unfortunately, causing an argument between Sage and Nick, and he kind of comes right out and tells her, you know what, maybe I am a little bit unconsciously or subconsciously sabotaging this whole baby thing because I don't think you're ready for it. And Sage is just, oh, gasp, how could you say that to me? When frankly, I think that Nick is right. Sage is not really ready for this, and not that she wouldn't have been or wouldn't be a really great mother, but it's obvious that she's not really over the loss of her own child. And while I don't think she's necessarily trying to replace Christian, I think she's trying to fill a spot in her own head. It's more about her, and less about the baby, less about Nick, less about the family. It's about a need that she needs to fill in her life. And I'm sure Nick could have found a nicer way to say that, but I also liked how real he was with her. Like, sorry, but sometimes you come across as desperate with Sean. It's true. Somebody needed to say it. And the other thing is that I'm sorry, Sage, even though I like you and I want to support you, you need to know that adopting this baby is not going to magically solve all of your problems. Oh, it's so sticky. And this is really unexpected, but you guys, I really like Sean. I mean, she's a secondary character, and I've learned her name. That should say it all. I can never remember new characters' names. It takes me forever to catch on to what people's names are, but I know I get her right away. I want to keep her. Can we keep Sean Y&R? I think there's just something like flat but very real and completely compelling about her delivery. I mean, she's been in 5 scenes, and I already like her more than Abby. Max recants that whole story about Stitch and the abuse, and I guess that's all over now. I guess that was kind of a 1-week story arc. I guess we're just building up to Y&R showing us how totally screwed up this kid is. There was this incident at the coffee house. It was crazy, where Abby is trying to warm up to Max, talk to him, make him feel all good, and he's having a day off from school, let's do something fun, and he is just being a little brat. He gets up, I think, and runs away, and she goes after him and experiences a cramp, and like she screams at him, oh my God, Max, call 911. And the kid just stands there looking at her like a deer in the headlights, and you could see that he didn't want to help. And you could see Abby realizing that the kid doesn't want to help. It was really scary. Like, first of all, girl, anybody else in that coffee house could have called 911 for you. You didn't need the kid to do it, but whatever, it served its purpose. It was scary. And she goes to the hospital, everything's fine, and she tries to tell Stitch about it, but it's a weird thing to try to tell a parent. Hey, here's the thing. I think your kid might be a serial killer, so can you keep him away from me? Or at least he's a serial killer in the making, like something ain't right with that boy. But of course she doesn't say that. She tries to pepper it a little bit, and soften the blow for Stitch a little bit, but she is concerned. She's picked up on the fact that not only does this kid not like her, but he does not wish her well, and it's valid. Everything Abby is feeling right now is valid. It seems like Max pretty much likes everybody in town except for Abby. I loved his little scene with Dr. Neville. I'm loving Dr. Neville and Ashley. I mean, the scene in the hospital where he like grabs her, he like scoots her seat real close to her. I mean, it's like real close to him, and I just keep thinking he's gonna kiss her one of these days. It's like Dr. Neville has more passion and more energy for Ashley's life than she can muster right now. It's like he's representing her passion and her energy, and it's so, they're just such a great couple. Man, I love them. I can't wait. I like that this is a slow burn too. It's just wonderful. Dr. Neville actually asked Ashley this week about her relationship with Stitch, because he has made it very clear. He even called himself Ashley's not so secret admirer. Oh my goodness, I could blush thinking about that. And so, but rightly, he's concerned that maybe Ashley might have feelings for somebody else, or, you know, I mean, the woman's dying. You probably shouldn't be hitting on her, but it probably feels good to feel wanted, so I'm for it. And he starts to ask her a little bit about Stitch, and they begin talking about the fire, and Max is in the lab, and he walks in, and he overhears them talking, and I think picks up on the fact that there was some sort of bond or relationship or incident between, or even just a relationship period, a connection between Ashley and his father, Ben, and he just picks up on that and completely runs with it. So all of a sudden, Max is like cozying up to Ashley and suggesting that they all, you know, have lunch together, and obviously the kid is concocting some plan. I'm kind of picking up on possibly him just doing little things maybe to try to facilitate a relationship between Abby and his father. I don't think he heard everything. I don't know that he picked up on the fact that it was a romantic relationship, but I think he just wants to do anything he can do to cause a wedge between Abby and his father. The problem is I really don't want that. I'll tell you, I feel like I don't even want to think about the Abby, Stitch, Ashley triangle. Like, the mother-daughter triangle thing is gross, and Ashley and Dr. Neville are way better. So I mean, I am enjoying the fact that Max is an X factor in Abby and Stitch's relationship. I like that he's a little psycho in the making, but I don't want this to lead to a Ben and Ashley relationship. Obviously, I am team Ashley and Dr. Neville. I love that she just calls him Neville, too. Nobody calls him Simon, his first name. He's just Neville. Oh, it's so adorable. I love the way he's taking care of her, up to and including last week when he offered to go get her a hot dog. I can't remember what happened. I think Hillary came in there and just reared her bitchiness, and Dr. Neville had to say, "I'll just forgo the hot dog." That was last week's Who Said It. It's so hard for me to not pick Who Said It quotes from Dr. Neville, because I feel like they're going to be obvious, because it's just, he's got so many weird, random little one-liners, and I could pick one every week and make it the Who Said It quote. So I try to use Dr. Neville quotes sparingly, but "I'll just forego the hot dog" was far too tempting. And I think maybe actually not as many people knew it, because there were not as many guesses this week. But everybody who did guess got it correct. Connor, Sharita, Ellen, Victoria, Austin, and Naomi, and Aaron. So you guys got that one right. But can you do it again is my question for this week. I want you to tell me during the course of this past week's show, who said this? "I want people to get hurt." Wow. I want people to get hurt. Quite a statement. If you think you know who would say such a thing, you can go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. You have to leave them on the blog. I I got so much else I gotta bring together for YNR Chat every week. I can't pull these from Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and everywhere. You gotta leave it on the blog if you want your shout out. yrchat.com, who said, I want people to get heard. If you guess right and you leave your guess on the blog, I will give you your shout out in next week's YNR Chat. Just one little follow-up that I had to mention. There was a post on the CBS Soaps in Depth website this week, which I check every week, and there was a little article following up on, it was titled, I think the real reason that Burgess Jenkins left YNR. So they were doing a follow-up on the last Billy, Burgess Jenkins, and the article said that the reason he had to leave the show was because his wife was diagnosed with cancer, and he was working in LA, but I think they were living in New York, so he had to give up the job and go back to take care of his wife, of course. And I wanted to make sure to mention that, so we kind of all had that follow-up resolution, because I really liked him, and I just feel so terrible and sorry that that happened. And I think also, as fans, I guess maybe I shouldn't put this on you, but as a fan, I think maybe I tend to assume that when an actor leaves the show unexpectedly, that it's YNR's fault. That they somehow decided to go in a different direction with the character, or something wasn't working out behind the scenes, and that just goes to show that that's not always the case. The actors have control over their lives and their careers, and they can choose to make an important decision about their family. And you know, it sort of reminds me of like Jill, for instance. As much as I love seeing Jill on my screen, I think it's really the actresses, and we never got that follow-up with her and Billy. That was still a screw up on YNR's part, but the fact that she's not on the show more is, I think, just a decision by the actress to spend more time with her family, and we have to give them that. I would never want Jess Walton to be shackled to my screen for all of eternity. I think we have to appreciate our actors when we have them, and let them have their lives too. Okay, how about we read some comments? I got a first time voice message from Kathy this week. At least I think so. I'm pretty sure I haven't heard your voice before, Kathy. So it's always really nice to hear new people calling into the voicemail. And Kathy says, I would like for people to remember how Hillary came to town. She was not a nice person in the first place. Yes, I think, Kathy, we all kind of got maybe wooed away from Hillary's bad girl image because she got caught up in this triangle with Devon and Neil, and she was just very loving, and we saw Hillary's transformation from bad girl into good girl, and I think now what we're seeing is like a total transformation into new heights of bad girl. She's just turned on a dime. I really hope that it's not a result of Dr. Neville's experimentation or anything having to do with her medication, because what happens to Hillary might very well happen to Ashley. But I mean, Hillary, she's definitely a bad girl, and it's I'm just still loving it. Neil walked in on Hillary proving herself to Devon this week on the couch in the lab, which was crazy because I think didn't the exact same thing happen a couple weeks ago, only just swapped Devon and Neil. It was Devon walking in on Neil and Hillary having sex on that same couch. This girl she's naughty, and Neil took Devon aside this week and had to warn him, she is working on you, boy. If you don't see it, you need to open up your eyes. This is the old Hillary in action. Rocks Grace on YouTube says, I am loving the rivalry between Ashley and Hillary. The whole time all I could think was, Hillary, girl, just you wait. When Ashley feels better, you're gonna be in trouble. It's true, but now that I think about it too, if Hillary's cattiness is a result of the medication she's taking, then the same thing would happen to Ashley, which means when Ashley does start feeling better, who knows, maybe the rivalry between those two is going to be unparalleled, an unparalleled bitch fest. Oh. Consuela at yrchat.com left a message saying, I'm tired of the way Hillary's treating Dr. Neville and Ashley. I think Dr. Neville should just quit and go back to working in his hotel room. Without him, there's no project. Exactly, Consuela. That's exactly what I was thinking this week, because I think it was even Monday's show where Neville comes in and he takes off the tie that Hillary has made him wear, and he just places it so gingerly right on her desk as if to symbolize his throwing out a little bit of a rebellion over what she's done to force Ashley out of the company. And of course, no one can understand why Ashley would even be out of the company. Neil figured out that it was, things that were going on with Hillary. But I thought to myself, yes, why? They need Neville. Without Neville, there's no anything. So Neville needs to assert himself a little bit more here. He's the one that has the power. Of course, then again, I'm sure he doesn't want to force Ashley to do anything she doesn't want to do, and maybe she does need the rest right now. So, but yeah, I agree. He's key to that whole thing, and so Hillary doesn't really call the shots. Justin left me a voicemail that said this mishap with Max is going to end up causing Max to go to what I call the magic boarding school, where the kid leaves and comes back as an adult later. But Justin was predicting that this whole thing with Max is going to cause the break between Abby and Ben and rekindle the affair with Ashley and Ben. Gosh, I don't know why, Justin, but I'm just like, I was ready to be done with that whole mother-daughter triangle. I kind of hope that's not the case, but I think maybe it's also driven more by my Ashley and Neville love. Justin also commented that he hopes Abby actually carries this baby to term, since miscarriages are extremely common in soap opera world. Yeah. Do you guys think that Abby's actually going to carry that baby to term? That's a good question. I don't know. Shoot, it's a crapshoot, right? Who knows? It could go either way. Daisy on Facebook says, I am very surprised that Victoria did not go after Gibault and accuse them of corporate espionage. That should have been her first thing on her agenda as the new CEO. Not going after Billy and Phyllis does not make her look like a good leader, nor someone who cares about the company. Yes, there was that scene, it seemed sort of out of place a little bit for the week, of Victoria having an argument with, I'm not sure if he was an employee or an associate, or I'm not sure exactly what that guy's position was, but she's arguing with someone internally who is saying, Victor always answers my emails. Victor does things this way. And Victoria saying, no, it doesn't matter how Victor did things. I'm doing it this way. And I just kind of almost think of that as an indicator that there is discord within the company, which probably is going to be resolved when Adam comes on. I'm going to assume that we're also going to see kind of a civil war within Newman Enterprises, because if Victoria and Adam are at the helm of Newman Enterprises, probably people are going to take sides. So that guy's probably going to be happy to have Adam on. I don't know I don't know who's going to end up coming out on top, or if they're going to co-run it, or what the deal will end up being. But Victoria's going to have a run for her money. Connor left me a voicemail, and this is a good point. Connor says, this whole internet project wasn't started by Billy or Victor. It was introduced to us by Kevin. So for Billy and Victor to keep arguing over whose idea it was is ridiculous, while Kevin is just sitting on the sidelines. Kevin should be the one calling the shots here. Yes, where the heck is Kevin in all of this? Are we ever going to get back to that? I mean, like, seriously, the people who really have the power are the underlings. I mean, you can kind of compare Dr. Neville and his position within the research project to Kevin and Natalie in their position with Passkey. Why are these people not calling the shots? It's just the people with money who have all of the control and all of the power. I would like to see Kevin, rather than taking this passive role going, oh, I don't know what's going to happen when Victor gets out of jail. It'd be better if Kevin was really getting aggressive and taking what he wants. I don't know if we're going to see that. Consuela left another comment, I couldn't pass it up, at yrchat.com, where she says, I actually really love the plot twist of Michael throwing the case. It's like Michael is revisiting his dark side, and this could very well make him go back to the Michael he used to be. I love seeing this side of Michael. Sharita at yrchat.com says, all of this talk about Michael Baldwin has me wondering, did they ever resolve his cancer storyline? Is he cancer free? Then Lauren R., who won the bar of soap, left a follow-up comment and saying, I feel almost like I missed something, but maybe they just haven't revisited it. And then Aaron on YouTube says, what happened to Michael's cancer storyline? Does he still have cancer? Is he cured from it? Why not just drop that storyline? I could not pass up talking about this with so many people mentioning it this week. Michael, love seeing him on the screen. I mean, this new twist in the darker Michael, it's amazing. But why has Y&R not followed up on the cancer storyline? Why did they take us there and then just completely drop it off the map? I don't think you missed anything, Lauren. I think they haven't followed up on it. And it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if somehow the cancer thing is going to give Michael some motivation for what he's doing when it comes to Victor, but I mean, right off the bat, it just feels like something that Y&R dropped the ball on. Why would you not even just mention it or have a brief little conversation between Michael and Lauren? It doesn't really make sense to me. Beatrice left me some voicemails this week. She was tearing it up on my voicemail toward the beginning of the week. I was laughing so hard. But on Friday, she left a message saying, I was almost convinced by Michael's argument. Again, for Victor and how Michael was going to present the case in the hospital room. But Beatrice says, but please, the mountain is high and wide with all the stuff Victor has done. It is true. I mean, it's hard to believe that Victor would even fall for the victoring that was happening there. Beatrice also mentioned that preview of next week's show where we see Noah on the stand testifying in front of Christine saying, well, the biggest mistake I ever made in my life was listening to my grandfather. So clearly everybody is kind of throwing Victor under the bus or prepared to point the finger his way. And then also Beatrice had mentioned the short little preview showing Judge Moxley on Monday telling Nikki that maybe it's time the Newmans got what was coming to them, which is kind of true. I think that if Judge Moxley recused herself from Victor's case, that I would assume she would have recused herself from Noah's case, but maybe that's not it, because it seems like Noah's going on trial on Monday and Judge Moxley's going to be there for it. I don't know. Maybe she'll just play it straight and get, I don't know. Noah's whole trial, it's dumb to me anyway. But anywho, Ellen C. left a comment at yrchat.com saying, as long as it is a given that Victor Newman can never, ever, ever lose, all of the suspense is ruined. Let's let Victor's children battle each other to try to cooperate in running Newman Enterprises. That would be a lot more interesting to me. Victor's become a comic book villain. He's no longer remotely realistic. Make room for the next generation. I really like that comment, Ellen, and that kind of also, I read that right before I started Y&R Chat, and that sort of got me thinking in the direction of Victor and his enemies maybe kind of propping him up here, because you're right. As long as Victor is just this one-dimensional, always win type of character, it's not as interesting. And I think that's why Y&R is giving us the family turning against him. And Gary had left a message for me too earlier in the week that got me thinking about, we've seen Victor win. We've seen Victor going against the world, but his family still being there supporting him. This is something we haven't seen. We haven't seen everyone that he loves pulling away their support. But that makes me think, we also haven't seen his enemies pulling together to help him. And that's kind of what made me think that that could be a twist that's coming. Jennifer Budin on YouTube says, I cannot get enough of Gina Tognoni as Phyllis. I love her. Angry and ready to kick ass. I was all here for Luca and Summer, but him and Victoria make way more sense. Plus, tons of chemistry. Jennifer goes on to say, the character of Nick is getting better writing these days, and I'm loving it. I also love that Sharon is being her strong self again. I love Luca. He reminds me of the first Adam. I hope they keep him. The show's getting really good right now. I love every storyline. I would, however, like to see Sage get her baby back so they can move on with that story. Yeah, Jennifer, I want to say, too, I am so just in awe of Gina Tognoni, first of all. I mean, whether you agree or disagree with the character of Phyllis and her actions, Gina's killing it right now. And on that same note, I've never seen Josh Morrow have this good of a storyline or this good of a performance. What happened to him? I mean, where? It was like out of the blue. Nick's always been such a bubblehead, and now all of a sudden he makes more sense than anyone else in the Newman family. He's doing the right thing. He's the kind, caring character. I mean, he was always just kind of there in the past. And instead now he's really being present, and he is participating and actually adding value into the rest of the family. And it's so good. I'm sure Josh Morrow is just loving all of the material he's getting right now, because maybe it just genuinely is that he's getting the writing that he has needed for quite some time. Gary made a comment very early in the week that he kind of quickly dismissed, but I think it's a good prediction and a twist on what we were talking about last week. Last week I was kind of speculating that perhaps Sean would want to adopt her baby out to Sharon and Dylan, or Sharon and Nick. And I was, in my mind, leaning more toward the Sharon and Nick adoption, because Sean really, really likes Nick. She's always complimenting Nick. She really, really likes Sharon, always complimenting her. But then Gary said, if Sean wants to adopt the baby to Dylan and Sharon, then that would be Dylan and Sharon's kind of consolation prize for when the truth is revealed about Sully and Sage gets her son back. Yeah, because I can really see Sean deciding to adopt the baby to Dylan and Sharon, probably because she would, well, in part because she doesn't like Sage, and in part because she would want her child to have a sibling in Sully. But what Gary's saying makes sense as far as a storyline goes, because ultimately we know that Sully is not Sharon's child. Ultimately we know that Sage is going to get a baby, but it's not necessarily going to be this baby. It would kind of make sense for YNR to make sure that at the end of this crazy series of storylines, both women end up with a baby. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, Mary Ann sent me an email. She got her bar of Michael soap. Yay! And she really liked it. It always makes me happy to hear people got the Genoa City soap and loved it and are scrubbing up with it really good. And the Michael soap is really just, I think, quite lovely, and it's just so great that I get to focus on Michael right now in every way, including smelling my soap of him. But Mary Ann actually gave me a heads up about the fact that next week is March Madness. So YNR and Bold and the Beautiful are both not going to be on this coming Thursday and this coming Friday. So this is going to be a 3-episode week, which, thank you for the heads up, Marianne, because I don't know why, but I never remember this. March Madness happens every single year, and yet I never see it coming. Okay, chatters, I think that takes us to the end. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking and feeling and predicting. So You can leave me comments in several different places. If you want to leave a text comment, you can go to yrchat.com. From there, you can leave comments on the blog, which I love seeing. I'm always so happy to see people leaving comments for me, but then kind of chatting with each other. That just thrills me to no end. So you can leave blog comments, or of course you can find the YouTube and Facebook links on the blog and interact with people if those are your preferred places to hang out. I love hearing my voicemails. It's like my own personalized YNR chat podcast when I get to hear your voices. So if you like to just get that comment out via voice, you can call into 309-588-4569. And next week's going to be a short week, but I will try to fill in some space and get we'll really dig into YNR next week, and maybe I'll come up with something extra fun we can do to make up for the lack of 2 episodes, so we'll see. Okay, guys, I love you, and I will see you next Sunday. Everybody have a good week, and take care. Bye.